Thank you so much. Thanks for the introduction. If I knew I could do presentation, I would have opted that way. I do much better with presentation than speeches. But thank you. I'm Hana Yoshimoto, Chief Education of United Nations Children's Fund South Africa. For those who don't know UNICEF, we were established right after the Second World War to provide education, health, nutrition, resources for children and women. And it was supposed to be temporal, but then we expanded to more than 179 countries since then. I have worked in the US, Japan, where I'm originally from, did Somalia, Yemen, Egypt, Lebanon. I moved from Lebanon right before this. I'm thankful that geographically South Africa is far because Israeli flights were flying above my head every day. Anyways, I'm here to speak about the global trend with a little bit of my personal experience, but also a little bit of touching on the South African education system. I've been here for almost 4 years now, this beautiful country. So globally, 1 in 5 young people are not in education or employed. By 2030, more than half of the world's young people will not have the most basic skills needed for employment. That's a global figure. Global education and skilling are currently undergoing paradigm shifts, as we all know. Integration of artificial intelligence in the infrastructure, and also the human-centric skills that are crucial when the routine jobs are becoming automated. Teachers' roles also. Number of you are teachers. More and more, with the hybrid learning online, still face-to-face, you're asked to be a facilitator, not an instructor. While the traditional education markets are tightening, emerging hubs in Asia and the Middle East are expanding rapidly, creating this dual global economy. AI as system defining infrastructure. Before, previously, AI was still experimental. Now it's becoming the core of how to build education systems. It's great. The personalized teaching and learning, it relieves the tasks and workload on teachers, and it's supposed to, or expected to, increase that efficiency. The rise of learning as skill. In an era of rapid technological change, the ability to learn, unlearn, and relearn is becoming one of the most critical future-proof skills. And that's why micro-credentialing, for example, is becoming more and more popular. It is an opportunity for adults to continue learning and skilling themselves. Human-centric skills. Machines handle the technical work. Human skills like interpersonal skills, the empathy, leadership, and also ethical reasoning is becoming a high-value priorities in our curricula. Very much linked to the human-centric skills is the what we call transferable skills or soft skills, transversal skills. The term is used interchangeably. The Recruiters and International Labor Surveys highlight the following as the most in-demand competencies. Of course, the digital skills, the AI literacy, those are expected. Critical and adaptive thinking, communication, EQ, collaboration, self-management, resilience, and leadership. Earlier this year, I was reading a research from Brookings Institution in Washington, D.C. They released a research on AI use in education. It does address that AI could be a life-changing tool for effective teaching and learning. However, but comes the key thing. If the learners are showing up with much less cognitive, emotional, social development and are unable to engage or participate as well, to think critically or to stay attuned and have attention, the use of AI is all for nothing. Basically, if you don't have solid competencies to manage and handle AI, it's not good for us. And what's needed is this holistic education. Even in AI literacy, it needs to be holistic, and that to prepare the young people. And this also includes the engagement of parents at homes. Shifting global mobility. Traditional school and study destinations like the US, Canada, UK are seeing stricter policies on enrollment. This has led to the rise of alternative hubs like South Korea, like Germany, like the United Arab Emirates, which offer affordable and career-focused programs. I'm 48 years old this year. I did my executive MBA a few years ago, just seeing the change also for me to adapt. Just this week, I checked the Financial Times global ranking on the executive MBA, just to see where my own program is at. When I looked at top 10 top ranked programs, 7 of them is partnering with the University of China. It shows, right? At the end of the day, tertiary education, and I'm looking at Prof, it is a business, but it's also showing the global trend, geopolitics. Equitable education. There is an urgent need at the global level on eradicating learning poverty. Same in South Africa, of course, ensuring that all children can read and solve basic math by age 10. UNESCO's 2026 Global Education Monitoring Report introduced the Equitable Financing Index, EFI, to track how countries fund support specifically for vulnerable population. Schools as ecosystem of care. Education institutions are being reimagined that it also serves as a center for well-being and belonging, integrating mental health support and social-emotional as essential conditions for academic success. Over the past, I want to say, few years especially, OECD has been talking a lot on education for human flourishing, analyzing how to enhance student well-being amidst this radical technology enhancement, the AI integration, and the geopolitical tensions. The 2026 PISA hasn't come yet, but they have tried to measure the happiness level of children. And they are openly, Andreas Streicher from OECD tend to come to South Africa also and present, especially including at Education Lehotla. He presents saying East Asian countries, including Japan, where I'm from, Korea, the international test scores are top 5, very good, but the happiness index is very low. On the other hand, some Latin American countries like Honduras, the test scores are low, but the happiness index is very high. So we want to ask ourselves, what are we delivering education for? The OECD's 2025 Early Learning and Child Wellbeing Study emphasized that high-quality early education is critical for developing social and emotional skills, which are directly linked to happier, healthier children. We know the hybrid learning, the experiential learning is really on the rise also. Project-based learning is also something that's being delivered in many countries. When you focus on competencies especially, many countries do adopt project-based. And then in more developed countries, the virtual reality is also used in the education. So combining the online coursework with short international residencies are now the preferred choice for many global students. We are living in an era of defined disruption. Technology is accelerating, AI is everywhere, labor markets are shifting, new industries are emerging as fast as the old ones disappear. Yet, in many of our countries, too many young people are not leaving school without the foundational skills, digital skills, or practical competencies that the modern economy needs. Children are learning, but not learning enough. They are completing school, but not prepared for work. The World Bank has assessed that South Africa is actually investing more on education in terms of funding. Actually, when you compare, 4.1% more than the average of the upper middle income country. But their learning adjusted years of schooling, it's a survey that they measure to really determine how many years have the learners learned as compared to the actual years of schooling. How many years do you think that is in South Africa? There's 9 years of compulsory education, 13 years until grade 12. South Africa, 5.6 years of learning. So basically, learners are physically going to school, but not really learning, and it shows in the figures. And this is not their failure. It's a system failure. It is our responsibility to fix it. And not just South Africa, but millions globally cannot read for meaning by age 10, limiting lifelong learning potential. Youth unemployment and unemployability is rising, not because young people lack ambition, because systems lack alignment with economic realities. Employers are demanding competencies, the soft skills, but these remain missing in classrooms or not delivered efficiently. If education is truly the engine of opportunity, then we do need to re-engineer the engine. What does learning to earn mean? We tend to use this term when we're talking about the shift from the education system entering the labor market. The learning to earn is not about pushing children into the labor market too early. It's not about vocational tracking that limits potential. It's not about providing short-term micro-credentialing on specific technical knowledge. It's about empowering every learner with competencies, confidence, and opportunities to transition from education to livelihoods with dignity. And it starts from strengthening the foundation. The learning to earn could not be seen as an event, but a process within which a number of transitions may occur, from early childhood development to foundation phase, primary education, adolescence, while considering several factors such as the gender, the family, social cultural norms, the location, regulatory environment, the climate impact, and also the schooling to earning trajectories. When we say learning to earn, what we want to say and what we need to say is learning that starts early is at the priority. If a child does not get a strong foundation in the early years, nutrition, protection, mental, psycho-emotional health, early stimulation, the pre-literacy, the pre-numeracy, everything that follows becomes harder. An education system designed for economic mobility must begin with early childhood development and ensure every child builds strong foundational learning by age 10. We know, based on research, that 90% of our brain is already developed by the age of 5. The most critical period for nutrition is the first 1,000 days since the pregnancy until the child is having the second birthday. Many people also suffer from obesity, for example. The window of opportunity is during childhood and adolescence. By the time you turn 20, the number of cells that determine obesity is already set. Many countries suffer, and that's why we have to start early. We need to start from an early childhood age and are ready to graduate school and look for jobs in the long term. Education and learning is an incremental process where the foundation allows higher order of learning that follows. Learning that is relevant in a conducive, safe learning environment is also a priority, as what OECD has been looking for. The evidence confirms that safe schooling and safe learners improve learning outcomes and the happiness. And the curriculum must reflect the world children are entering, not 30 years ago, but today. This means competency-based education. Learning must foster holistic development, and going beyond technical knowledge, technical skills that you can learn even when you're older. It needs to be embedded across all subjects. Learning that connects the opportunities. Education must open doors to pathways like the TVET, the entrepreneurship, the apprenticeship, working to greater learning, etc. Young people should graduate with both knowledge and also the pathway itself. Is a pathway really, really easy for young people to participate in the economy? Having addressed all this global trend, we at UNICEF South Africa, by nature, as United Nations, our counterpart is the government in any country. So I work with the Department of Basic Education, and I'm quite happy in seeing that the DB is now publicly saying that they are shifting from metric-centered approach to competencies approach, the learning outcomes itself. And UNICEF is really trying to assist in this whole process. What we have done is come up with a national core competency framework. When we talk about competencies, what's really critical is carefully designed framework that's used across different trainings. Even if you'd say, how do you define communication? People would come up differently. How do you define coordination? Again, differently. So if we want a unified approach, we do need certain frameworks and guiding sort of tool. We have assisted that. But then we said, okay, it's all fine. It's just going to go to the bookshelf if you don't have a measurement tool. I didn't realize that our partner is here in the audience, but with ThinkShift, thank you, we developed a measurement tool using AI because these transferable skills are interlinked. The communication is linked with negotiation, with critical skills. And so it's really hard for our human brain to manually analyze the level of competencies holistically of one child. So we're using AI in terms of the data analysis. We also adopting this framework for extracurricular activities so that the learners can strengthen the in-class learning after school. So the curriculum, the assessment, we're also helping with the national assessment system using this competency-based approach. Basically, the government right now is saying, okay, grade 9, 30% of learners drop out after grade 9 and not go to grade 12 in this country. But at grade 9, there's no official certification. How do you help these young people with no certificate and expect them to get a job? It's impossible. So what the government is trying to do is on top of the academic grades, they want to have a holistic measurement on competency so then they can combine it and say, hey, this is what I am good at and what I can do. We're helping in that process. Of course, public education system, they are trying. The current minister is going the right direction, aligned with the global trend. It is slow, and we know that, but the world is moving faster. Every child in every school must leave the education system with the skills to learn, to adapt, and to earn. Not some children, not children in wealthy communities, not children in well-resourced schools, but every child, everywhere, without exception. And for the governments, globally, but also South Africa, they cannot do alone. That's why platforms like this is really helpful. Governments, as the private partners, the think tanks, the academia, they bring the knowledge, the expertise, as well as technology and the funding. So we do need to work together, and I appreciate this platform, so that we can really try to counter the fragmentation that's happening. South Africa, there's so many things happening in each subsector, almost too much, but it's not coming together. It's all fragmented. And unfortunately or fortunately, globally, we say decentralization of services is good. I worked in the Middle East for 10 years, say, for example, Egypt. When the minister or the president says, do it, we have to do it. the teachers to the village level, to the community level, they do it, or else they'll be penalized. At one point, when we were talking about teacher training, the minister said, oh, we can mobilize the military for that. South Africa is not like this. It is a very highly decentralized system where that government in Pretoria, in a way, when it comes to implementation, their hands are tied because the authority lies at the province level. So implementation is weak, and we know that, but it's also a structural issue as well. So as my final words, I want to say, and I believe that you are all on board, let us create an education system, which prepares children to study for and pass exams, but to shape their future ahead. Thank you so much.